A trip into the underwater world can unearth the most fascinating wonders, such as breathtaking corals, exotic fish, and lively mermaids. Yes, you heard me right. Although we usually place the hybrid creatures in a land of fairy tales and legends, some people are firmly convinced that they have seen a real mermaid before. So in the end, were we all wrong? Are Ariel and friends actually living in the waters of this earth? Let's research for answers together and explore some incredible mermaid sightings. Before we get started, be sure to hit the like button and ring the notification bell for more videos. Also, stick around until the end to learn about one of the most incredible mermaid sightings in the world. Mermaid in England. If you found yourself on the coast of Torbay last year, you could tell that something was wrong with your eyes. A real mermaid was splashing around in the ocean. It was quickly ruled out that there was a mix-up. The creature that was swimming in the water undoubtedly had the upper body of a blonde woman and the lower body of a huge fish. So does this case from England represent indisputable proof of the existence of hybrid beings? Well, not really. Although Pauline Barker describes herself as a part-time mermaid, she's strictly an ordinary human. On the day in question, the 57-year-old Brit was in Torbay to celebrate a friend's 60th birthday there. So the whole action was just a big joke that put a smile on the puzzled people's faces. By the way, Pauline describes swimming with the custom-made mermaid tail as a great challenge that requires a lot of training. But since Ariel used to be a synchronized swimmer, she mastered the cramped conditions of her costume with flying colors. Cayman. It's 11:30 p.m. on January 5th, 2008, when Daniel Cupid hears strange noises on the banks of South Africa's Buffaljags River. It sounded like someone hitting a wall with full force. To investigate the source of the noise, Daniel entered a nearby bridge. Once there, his eyes met a white woman with long black hair who was rolling in the water. Believing this to be someone in distress, he slowly waded toward her. However, when he saw the fiery red gleam in the woman's eyes, Daniel spun around in panic and ran away. He then rounded up some of his friends who later also claimed to have seen the frightening figure. The being gave such a heart-rending lamentation that it was almost unbearable. Some people believe that this is when Daniel and his companions encountered the legendary Cayman. According to local superstitions, this hybrid of a human and a fish lives in the depths of the river and from time to time preys on unwary swimmers. Zimbabwe. In 2012, a most curious incident occurred in Zimbabwe, near the town of Gokwe. The men refused to continue working on the planned reservoirs because they had allegedly been attacked by mermaids. Samuel then ordered Sepepa Como to brew traditional beer and perform spiritual rituals to appease the aggressive water spirits. What was often smiled at in international reporting was vehemently defended by the then Minister of the Development and Management of Water Resources. While he wouldn't believe in the existence of mermaids himself, he respects the traditions of the community that lives in the area, and so it was that the ceremonies were held according to plan. With success, the work could be continued without further incidents. Christopher Columbus. If you like, Christopher Columbus reached two historic milestones during the voyages of discovery: the rediscovery of America and the sighting of 3 mermaids. At least that's what the records from January 9, 1493 tell, which were created when a seafarer and his crew were near Haiti. A day earlier, Columbus saw 3 mermaids suddenly appearing between the waves. However, these mystical creatures were not nearly as beautiful and graceful as the old stories said. Accordingly, the creatures did not have attractive and graceful faces, but rather wrinkled, not to say repulsive faces. According to historians, this was mainly because Columbus did not discover mermaids at all, but manatees. With a lot of imagination and viewed from a distance, the water dwellers are actually reminiscent of the well-known hybrid creatures. But which creatures really caught the eye of the famous seafarer at the time can no longer be clarified in retrospect. unknown creature. A few years ago, 7 fishermen in New Zealand were shocked when they found what appeared to be a dead woman's body caught in their nets. After alerting official authorities, scientists quickly concluded that the remains were by no means human. But which creature had the fishermen then carried out of the water? Well, the experts could not give any clear information on this either. Reports then surfaced online about a human-like water creature that many users interpreted as a mermaid. Although shared thousands of times on social networks, many people strongly doubt the truthfulness of this story. DEERNESS mermaid. Many mermaid sightings have been reported in Scotland's Orkney Islands over time. The best-known case, however, is the so-called DEERNESS mermaid. In the 1890s, the mermaid is said to have started showing up regularly. What started out as a local rumor would soon be fueled by dozens of eyewitness accounts. This is how the bizarre creature kept rising out of the water for 2 summers. A look at the vague descriptions of the creature shows that the creature did not have much in common with the classic Disney characters at the time. The creature was 10 feet long with a black head and neck. The upper body presented itself in a pale white. With her unusually long arms, the mermaid seemed to practically prance through the water, occasionally slipping off the rocks into the water. Which creature the local residents really had to deal with at the time and where it finally disappeared to will probably always remain a mystery. K Islands. Among the local people of Indonesia's K Islands, the stories of the mystical Orang Ikan have been told for many generations. And when the Japanese occupied the islands during World War II, they were shocked to discover that the legends about the eerie fishermen actually had a kernel of truth. At least that is what the many different reports that came to the public from the Japanese ranks at the time suggest. The soldiers told of creatures about 1.5 meters tall, whose backs, shoulders, and necks were adorned with sharp spikes. In addition, the salmon-colored creatures possessed not just 1, but 2 long tail fins and oversized arms. Although the Japanese encountered the Orang Ikan comparatively frequently, they failed to capture or kill any of these creatures. Israel. In the year 2009, when reports about an almost unbelievable being are making the rounds in the Israeli Kiryat, back then, a creature resembling a young girl is said to have climbed out of the water near the beach and then performed a few tricks. Allegedly, the spectacle repeated itself for several days, so that the supposed mermaid even made the national news. The government couldn't turn a blind eye to the sensational stories either, which is why they promised a reward of $1 million to anyone who could provide solid proof of the existence of the mermaid. Unfortunately, no research team was able to capture the mythical creature in a picture. Since the reward hasn't been paid yet, locals and tourists are still keeping an eye out for the mysterious creature. Sometime later, another video circulated from Israel in which we see a bizarre thing sitting on a rock in the sea. But moments later, the creature seems to notice the onlookers, whereupon it slides into the water and disappears from view. Do you think it's possible that this recording is real? Feel free to let us know in the comments below. Kauai. As the 4th largest island in Hawaii, Kauai attracts countless tourists from all over the world every year. And after the 1998 experience that scuba diver Jeff Lieber had off Kauai's waters, he too must have been in need of a vacation. About 20 minutes by boat from shore, Jeff spotted a woman swimming through the water with a pod of dolphins. As if the fact that the swimmer could easily keep up with the marine mammal's pace wasn't puzzling enough, she jumped out of the water and revealed her huge tail fin. The other 10 people who were also on the boat at the time said they had also seen the mermaid. Jeff later changed into his scuba gear and headed underwater. And as luck would have it, another encounter took place there. In the photo the diver snapped at the time, we see a blurred, shadowy figure whose silhouette is actually reminiscent of a classic mermaid. Supposedly, the picture was examined by several experts and found to be genuine. MAYNE Island. If you've always wondered what mermaids actually eat, look no further than this next incident, which is said to have happened in 1967. Back then, a tourist ferry was cruising through the waters off Canada's Maine island when the passengers on board spotted something almost unbelievable: a blonde mermaid floating on the waves, happily eating a raw salmon. As sightings piled up over the following days, a certain Charles White put a $25,000 bounty on the mermaid's head. However, he did not want to kill the hybrid, quite the opposite. If the mermaid were caught, he would provide her with an enclosure with all the amenities imaginable. However, since no one managed to capture the creature, the story began to fade over time. TENSHOU-KYOUSHA Shrine. This story may be a bit hard to believe because it is very far-fetched and there isn't much evidence to support the story. The TENSHOU-KYOUSHA Shrine is located in Fujiyama, Japan, and is believed to be the oldest preserved mermaid specimen ever found, if it is indeed real. The story behind this creepy little creature is quite interesting, but also very creepy. It involves a royal prince who is fishing alone on his boat one day. The story says that the prince was hunting for fish when his boat drifted into protected waters. Rather than turn around, the prince continued forward and began to fish in forbidden areas. A small mermaid was swimming nearby the area and noticed the fisherman. The mermaid emerged from the waters and scared the fisherman tremendously, though he didn't intend to do him any harm so long as he did what he was asked. The prince claimed that the mermaid asked him to build a shrine in his honor once he returned home. In exchange, the mermaid would forgive him for fishing in forbidden waters. The prince returned home later that day and began to do exactly what the mermaid had asked. He created this disturbing monument in remembrance of the mermaid that supposedly spared his life that day. The figure inside of this shrine is quite creepy, and many wonder if it is a sculpture and not truly a mermaid. We may never know, but the prince insists that the mermaid is real. Considering the shrine was built an estimated 1400 years ago, we may never know the truth behind this creepy shrine. Apollo Beach, Florida. The last place you would expect to see a mermaid is in the runoff from a power plant in Florida. However, dozens of people have claimed to see mermaids in this area. The plant is located near Apollo Beach and is one of the most popular hotspots for mermaid sightings in Florida. Local residents insist mermaids are nothing more than a myth, but countless people have visited this area and claim to have seen a mermaid just below the surface of the water. There is a lot of speculation about what lives in this area, but manatees are known to visit the area quite often. The power plant has a large supply of wastewater that drains off into the nearby rivers and ocean. This water is usually very warm, and the manatees love to swim in it. This has caused many locals and skeptics to believe that the mermaid sightings are nothing more than manatee sightings, and that visitors and tourists are mistaken. However, we can't be too quick to dismiss these claims. It would make sense if only a handful of people have claimed to see a mermaid in the area. However, dozens of people each year claim to have seen mystical creatures swimming in the warm water. While it is possible the sightings are nothing more than manatees, there is a possibility that this water runoff system could be a hotspot for mermaid activity. JEJU Mermaids, Korea. The JEJU mermaids have been around for decades, though most South Korean locals are confident that these mermaids are nothing more than elderly women putting on a show for the passerby. Though this may be true, women in this area are known as haenyeo and are given the duty of being a fisherman for the locals. These women are often seen taking part in diving exercises to retrieve fish and other marine wildlife from the depths of the rivers. This has caused many other fishermen and tourists to believe that the women were mermaids, though this was not true. However, there have been some sightings throughout the years in which an individual insisted that the women were genuine mermaids and saw no way that these could be the elderly fisherwomen who were taking part in their daily activities. We may never know for sure, but it's certainly possible that these sightings are strictly based around the haenyeo women, but there is also a great possibility that South Korea may be home to its species of the mermaid. Okay folks, now we want your opinion. What do you think of the mermaid stories we brought to you today? Do you think the mystical mermaids actually exist? We are already looking for your comments. Leave us a like and a subscription if you enjoyed our trip to the legendary underwater world. And with that, thanks for watching, take care, and see you next time.